Hello Summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Dan, and today I'll be going over some of the latest leaks that we have about the new top lane champion, and also some upcoming reworks coming to the Rift very soon. I know it's only been a week since the reveal of Aphelios, but it looks like Riot really wants to speed things up and release another one during the start of January. But remember though, all of these informations that we've gathered are only leaks, so changes can be made before any of this hits the live servers. However, I will mention that the authenticity of these leaks are pretty solid, since they were put into the official PBE. Also guys, today's question of the day is, what type of champion would you like to see being added to the Rift this year? I personally would love to see an Elder Wolf elf-style support champion who can warp the environment to their liking. Let us know your answers in the comments below. Also, before we get started, are you getting ganked in your own lane? Constantly getting demolished? Don't worry, we got you covered. ProGuides is the #1 proven way to quickly level up your League of Legends skills. Whether you're looking for tier lists, champion guides, coaching, or courses from your favorite pro players, ProGuides is where you'll find them. Even players like Nightblue, Bunny Fufu, BoxBox, and Loco Doco support ProGuides. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and start improving right now. Alright, with that all being said, let's jump into the video. First things first, let's cover the thing that you're most excited about, which are the new leaks for the new IONIAN champion named SETT. During October this year, we were first given a sneak peek of SETT in the champion roadmap that Riot had published for us. They said that the champion after Aphelios would be straight out of the Ionian underground fighting scene. This champion would be a smoking new juggernaut who's very straightforward, yet very accessible. Riot had even gone to the lengths of comparing him with Darius and mentioned that they want to add another champion who falls into the same space as him. This new champion thrives in the center of a brawl, laughing as they take hit after hit, then furiously punching back, releasing all of that stored aggression onto their enemies' faces. If you like letting your fists do the talking, getting into the heat of a pit fight and smashing your opponent's heads together, then this champion will be perfect for you. Okay, wow, so he'll be able to tank a ton of damage and release a portion of that damage back to his opponent. That sounds amazing. Now, here comes the best part. A few days ago on the official PBE, SETT was leaked thanks to the addition of this new loot item called SETT's Calling Card. This card displays a wolf-like being as the face of the card, which is very similar to the drawings inscribed into the arena on the previous photo. It also states this item will be available on the Rift on January 14th, which is really close from now. And lastly for the leaks, we even have a leaked video of what he looks like from the 10th anniversary video that Riot released a few months back. Take a look at the monitor we've circled. You'll see what appears to be Akali and Shen fighting a wolf-like being in the background. Considering that SETT's calling cards show that he's related to some kind of wolf/beast, and he's also a very large juggernaut, this video is more than likely to be a leak of what he actually looks like. If you want to check it out, then take a look at the 10th anniversary video yourself at the 25 minutes and 58 second mark. Let us know your thoughts about SETT in the comments down below. I'm honestly super excited about this champion because I've always wanted a boxer-style luchador champ in the game. Alright, now that the leaks are out of the way, let's cover some more changes that are coming to the Rift very soon. First up, we have the much anticipated Diana rework. Although Diana has held a decent stance in the meta, she was still one of the most outdated champs in the game and was in dire need of some changes. For patch 9.24, Diana mains will be very pleased that the rework will hit the Rift, and these changes are amazing. First things first, Diana's E has been completely swapped with her ultimate. This means that her E is now called Lunar Rush, which will now allow you to dash to enemies while dealing damage and resetting the cooldown of this ability if they're hit by Moonlight. Lunar Rush has a 22-second cooldown and only costs 40 mana. Next up, her ultimate, Moonfall, will work very similar to her current E, but instead of just drawing in all enemies and slowing them, there will be a second component to this as well. If Diana pulls in one or more enemy champions, the Moonlight crashes down onto her after 1 second, dealing a huge amount of magic damage burst around her and is increased for each target hit. Lastly, Diana's passive, Moon Silver Blade, will now scale with character level, will now increase the bonus with other spellcasts, and the passive cleave will no longer grant you mana. These are the kit changes that Diana will receive very soon, and I can confirm that these changes are amazing. She's finally a relevant champion before level 6, and having access to Lunar Rush this early makes her feel so much more impactful. The swap should overall help the laning frustrations that Diana players have, and also get rid of that sleeper OP Aftershock Diana build that only a few challenger players have been spamming. Oh yeah, and one last thing, Diana is also receiving receiving a few aesthetic upgrades. She will now have updated visual effects and sound effects. In addition to that, here's a quick screenshot of her new ability icons, which look amazing. I might even print these out later and make them my new keyboard caps later on. Let us know your thoughts about the Diana rework down below. On to the next rework, we have Wukong. Wukong has been in testing for multiple months now, but we finally received an updated progress report from Riot Lutzborg. Firstly, his passive stone skin will no longer gain resistances for nearby champions and will be completely changed. Whenever Wukong is invisible to the enemy team for at least 1 second, he receives a temporary physical damage shield based on his max HP. After being spotted, the shield will disappear after a few seconds. This is really interesting because it'll allow him to have a lot more survivability tools in lane, which he really needed. Next up is Q, Wuju Strike, will have its mana cost lowered from 40 to 30, and the cooldown will also be reduced by 1 second at all ranks. In addition to this, the mana cost is now refunded whenever Wukong kills a unit. This ability is pretty much the same as live, but with a few minor buffs and positive changes for his kit overall. Wukong's W, Warrior Trickster, will now instantly dash towards the player's cursor instead of a short-range blink. The dash range is 350 and 1200 speed, and this cannot go over walls. The clone is also treated as a stationary champion and will attack nearby enemies. The clone's attack deals a scaling 50 to 100% of Wukong's AD based on skill rank. And lastly, the clone will look identical to Wukong's S-key animation, which means it'll be impossible for you to tell if he swapped to the clone or just stood still. Next up, his E, Numbus Strike, will now deal magic damage instead of physical, but will work very similarly to the current E that he has now. And finally, his ultimate, Cyclone, will have its tick rate increased from 0.5 seconds to 0.25 seconds, and the damage has been buffed a lot. The bonus movement speed that this ability grants is now a flat 30% instead of the 5 to 40% ramp up on live, and the E's attack speed buff now pauses while his ultimate is active. Lastly, Wukong can now cancel his ultimate early by casting another ability, which will prevent a lot of clunkiness within his kit. Once again, these changes are looking great, and I'm sure the Wukong mains are pleased with what's coming. There isn't actually an ETA on when this rework will hit the live servers, but we'll make sure to keep you guys updated when that does. Make sure to click that sub button if you want to stay updated with all the latest news on reworks, new champs, or any changes, because ProGuides will always remember to keep you in the loop. The third rework that we're going to see in the coming weeks is a VFX rework for Lux. Lux's ability effects are extremely outdated, and she's finally being updated on the PvE. Instead of explaining what the changes are, we'll just show you a side-by-side comparison of them. We have her Q, Light Binding. Next up is her W, Prismatic Barrier. Then her E, Lucent Singularity. And lastly, her ultimate, Final Spark. These are just the changes being made to her base kit. All of her skins will receive a small touch-up as well, and the Steel Legion Lux skin will see a complete cleanup of the abilities. For those of you who are unaware, this skin was banned in competitive play for a lack of clarity. Overall, these changes are great for both the Lux players and players playing against her. The level of clarity added in the abilities, and especially her ultimate, is great for the game, and I'm sure everyone will love these changes. This VFX rework will hit the Rift in patch 9.24, so make sure to try her out next patch. And lastly, for the reworks, we have the Volley Bear plus Fiddlesticks rework coming next season. There are still no new updates about these guys other than these images of them. The only information that we know is that these two will receive a complete overhaul, which means their kits will be very different than what they are right now. Make sure to click that sub button to stay updated with their changes, because we'll be covering any changes made to kits very closely. Now that all the reworks are out of the way, we have one last thing to cover, which is the new champion, Aphelios. Aphelios is the newest champion hitting the Rift next patch, and he's an ADC all the way from Mount Targon. Now, unlike all the other champs in the game, Aphelios does not have an E ability. He only has a Q, W, and ultimate. This means that the remaining skill points he receives after maxing these three abilities will go towards his stats like AD, attack speed, and armor pen. On top of that, Aphelios cycles through 5 different weapons, each of them having their own basic attacks. He attacks with his main hand weapon, but always has an offhand weapon he can swap to by pressing W. Aphelios can't pick and choose which 2 weapons he equips at any given time. His weapon's at 50 ammo called Moonlight, and when a weapon runs empty, you get the next one in line. Empty weapons go to the end of the line to recharge. Now that his passive is out of the way, let's cover his abilities and weapons. The first weapon is called Calibrum the Rifle. Calibrum is a poke and harass weapon, which grants you extra range. The Q ability is called Moonshot, which fires a skill shot that deals damage to the first unit hit and marks them. The ultimate for Calibrum is called Moonlight Vigil, which follows up on all marked targets and deals damage to them. You can follow up on these marked targets from anywhere on the map, and it'll detonate other nearby marks for bonus damage against the marked target. The second weapon is called Severum the Scythe Pistol. Severum is a sustain weapon which heals Aphelios for a portion of the damage dealt, and also grants him a shield based off overheals. The Q is called Onslaught, which grants him movement speed and rapidly fires his main hand and offhand weapons onto nearby enemies. The ultimate for Severum grants Aphelios a flat heal amount. The third weapon is called Gravitum the Cannon. Gravitum is a utility weapon that applies a decaying slow to enemies. The Q is called Eclipse, and it damages and roots all enemies on the map who are affected by its slow. The ultimate allows your follow-up attacks to apply a massively increased slow. You'll pretty much be shooting threshold level slows at them. The fourth weapon is called Infernum the Flamethrower. Infernum is an AoE weapon that deals increased basic attack and ability damage and creates a damage cone behind enemies hit. The Q is called Dusk Wave, and it spouts a wave of flame. The ultimate for Infernum lets your follow-up attacks create damage circles around enemies instead of damage cones behind them. And lastly, the final weapon is called Crescendum the Chakram. Crescendum is a DPS weapon that behaves like a boomerang. Once Aphelios basic attacks with Crescendum, he can't attack again until it returns to him, but his attack resets when it does. Attack speed increases the travel speed instead of the actual attack speed. The Q is called Sentry, which deploys a turret that shoots the nearest target with your offhand weapon. The ultimate for Crescendum lets your follow-up attack increase the damage of your basic attacks, even if there were fewer than 3 targets hit. I want to know your guys' thoughts about this champion coming out next patch. Do you think that he'll be balanceable? Will he be a bit too broken? Will Riot ever nerf him despite his popularity? Let us know in the comments down below. Anyways, that's going to be it for our upcoming changes video for Season 10. If you enjoyed watching the video, then please hit that like, comment, and subscribe button to be notified of our next vid. Also, be sure to check out ProGuides.com if you want to see huge improvements in your rank. That's all for now, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you out on the Rift.